In the previous video, we explained what chametz is and how important it is to rid ourselves from chametz on Passover. Now, we're going to understand what is matzah. Matzah is that bread, the poor man's bread, that the Jews left Egypt with. They were in a rush when finally Moses came and said, God said we have to leave right now. And in a hurry, the Jewish people left. They said, we don't even have our food ready. Moshe said, take what you have and let's go. The Jews left with what is called the poor man's bread. Halachma anya, as we say in the Haggadah. It's the poor man's bread. And this is to remind us of our bondage and our slavery when we were in Egypt and how we left. We left as the Jewish people still the slave mentality. And God was now ready to upgrade us from that mentality, from being slaves to being free people, from being free from all of that torture and bondage, and now coming and serving God through learning and observing His Torah. Because of that, every single year, God tells us, rid ourselves of all of chametz, and what shall you eat? Not bread, not chametz items, rather you are to eat matzah, just as your forefathers did when they left Egypt. So it's very ironic to note that the same 5 main grains which makes chametz, which makes bread, and that is wheat, barley, oats, spelt, and rye, any one of them, or all of them together. That is chametz, but only out of those 5 grains can one make matzah and fulfill their obligation to eat matzah. The great difference is the amount of fermenting or coagulating that there was. See, when it comes to bread, we know that there's sometimes yeast is added or sourdough is added, and that's what makes the bread rise. Or it's also just the time of allowing the water and the grain or the water and the flour just sit there. That's what makes matzah very different. Matzah is just water and flour. And we are very stringent to make sure that in under 18 minutes from when the contact of the water and the flour merged, came together, that the matzah is completely baked and taken out of the oven, and therefore it does not allow it to coagulate or to swell and ferment and turn into chametz. So just again as a reminder, it's very interesting to note that the same 5 grains that make any type of food product, chametz, is really the only same 5 grains that a person can fulfill their obligation to eat matzah on Passover. For example, if anyone was going to take, and we're going to speak about in our next video, about legumes, about kitniot. But for argument's sake, if a person would take corn starch, potato starch, or even rice flour, and turn that into a matzah cracker, one would not be able to eat that on Passover and fulfill their obligation to have the matzah during the Seder night.